So, in class one day, a minor note was made about how we take crops and ship them away, and the soil doesn't gain the nutrients that it loses from the crops back. Thinking about that, I was thinking about burial practices that we conduct and whether they give to the soil or not. So, this video essay will not focus on the philosophical, emotional, or spiritual aspects of our death, but rather the body and the soil it will one day feed. Focusing in on America, an insurance agency called Choice Mutual conducted a survey in 2020. It found that the majority of Americans wish to be cremated now, and that the second largest group wished to have a traditional burial, which is a coffin burial, and the rest went into various categories. Cremation is the act of burning the body after death and turning it into ashes. It should be noted that most of the body does end up in the air. There's still a large amount that is typically the bones, and the box that is put in with the body into the cremation chamber that gets turned into ashes. Like they grind up the bones and whatnot afterwards if there's still some chunks remaining. The ashes can have multiple end purposes or functions after the cremation process. Choice Mutual again did some research and found that 40% of the people wish to spread them to specific locations, 36% wish to keep them inside urns, 10% wanted to plant them as trees, and 14% had other intentions with them. And this could range from being turned into a painting, become a coral reef, or go into space, for instance. There's many different uses for in that category. For the few that do wish to become nutrients in soil and be planted as a tree, their ashes actually do have many nutrients that plants like to have. But the ashes are also, our human remains are very high in salt, and the ashes have a high pH level. There's also, due to this process, there's very little micronutrients, which causes an imbalance in plants, which sort of stall photosynthesis a bit and can be harmful. A good way to get around this is to simply just mix in a little bit of the remains in with the soil, and that erases the problem and still holds meaning. The traditional burial in the US is a coffin burial. People gather at a funeral to say goodbye, and then they take the coffin with the body inside to a cemetery to be lowered into the ground inside a casket, and then they bury it. In preparation for the funeral section of the traditional burial process, the morgue will fill the body up with formaldehyde, which can be deadly to humans, but it helps preserve the body, or at least slow down the rate of decay. And whenever they bury it in the ground, the formaldehyde tags along. It is estimated that 800,000 gallons are put into the ground each year. Coffins are barriers that interfere with a decomposing human body from interacting with the surrounding soil. But there are biodegradable coffins that are actually cheaper than regular coffins. And this is a potential thing that would allow it to be similar to a natural burial, where it's just soil placed on top of a dead body, yet still having some sort of box for a formality. Another aspect to make note of for traditional burials is the amount of land use. 1 million acres of land in the United States are used for cemeteries, and this is land that could be very well maintained in the sense of lots of grass for prettiness, and using chemicals to stop weeds, and just mowing it very constantly.